In today's video, I'm going to attempt to run my bead or my root uphill versus downhill. The reason I say attempt is because that's not something I've ever done on a job. I'm gonna attempt to make an uphill weld with 1/8 6010. After we get our uphill bead in, I'm gonna grind it and then run a 332 7018 uphill for our hot pass, and then I hope to cap right on top of the hot pass. All right, here we go, boys. See what happens. It's awkward as I'll get out. There's what it's looking like so far. It actually goes a lot better than what I thought it would. Now that I'm doing this, I have ran an uphill bead before, not ever on a job, but just for fun. And I do kind of recall, but it's a lot easier than you think. But I did have a little mishap down here. I'm not saying it's going to look good, I'm just saying it's a lot easier than what I thought. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to drag it. Thought maybe I was going to have to step it. I don't know why, that's just what my mind told me, but I was wrong. You can sure enough drag it, just like we do downhill. Get over here, you little grinder holder. I think I'm actually going to bump her up 5. Because it's a little snug. This is actually pretty fun. I really just got lucky on my gap. Didn't really know how much to space it. It's just, everything just totally backwards, so it just feels really awkward. Try to get you in here so you can see what's going on behind the welding lens. That went like crap. Up here it's somewhat normal. I mean, that went real crappy. Right. Bump her back down to 30 because this thing is wide over here now. Well, I should have left her, I guess. Weird, I feel like I need to be welding with my left hand. since this is wide over here, I've just been stepping it. So awkward. We're gonna keep after it though, and I'm about to do another one right after this. It's driving me crazy that I'm struggling so much. Oh, I just turned her up. Maybe I can just wiggle it back and forth. Little baby step to try to squeeze it in there. Get up here, it's about the same. I just feel like I'm welding with the wrong hand. Have mercy. Have the mercy. Let's take a look inside of that pipe. Go ahead and brush this bead off so we can see it a little better. Oh my Lanta. It's this bead back here. Look at all that mess we gotta clean up. Have mercy. See, this over here, actually this is a horizontal weld here, but wow. This is kind of embarrassing. It's flat. I've got a lot of practice up on. Make this bead a little cleaner. Alright, well, I'm gonna go ahead and grind it, and then we'll put a 7018, 332 7018 hot pass in here. Tricky thing with 7018 and hot pass like this is it's hard to keep, or at least for me, it's hard for me to keep my toes clean. That's one thing that I like about pipeline jobs though, is having a helper. This is kind of a prime example. I don't know if you can see that footage real well, but I really could have stood to turn it down. I adapted and I was able to just make different movements. But to be honest, that was a little bit of a panic, and most likely I'm not gonna like how dirty the edges are. I just know from experience that, I mean, if the slide comes out good, then I'll know that I'll like it, but if it doesn't come out good, then chances are I may or may not be able to cap on top of this. I may want to run another pass to kind of clean it up and then a cap. I enjoy doing this though, because this is just making me better and I'm able to share it with you while I'm doing it. But yeah, having a helper is super handy to run that remote box while you're welding, and to me that just makes a more quality weld. But the one thing that I always think of whenever I don't have a helper is how welders back in the day, I don't know how long pipeline welders have had helpers like on the job, you know. I know I've worked some jobs where I didn't have a helper. So all that to say is it does make me think about how those before me in the pipeline industry or welding industry in general welded without a helper. All that to say is a helper's nice for making a quality weld, but the silver lining to not having a helper, practicing at home by yourself, etc., is learning how to weld and adjust your like adapt to whatever the bevel throws at you. You know, if you ground the bead too thin and it starts to get hot, or if it gets wide, or you know, whatever the case may be, you got to do different things to make that weld still be a good weld. You know, I was trying to prevent blowing through because I don't want to fix a burn through, so I was able to speed up and change my motion just to try to keep from messing up. So the silver lining is not having a helper can make you better if you just focus on working with what you got. I'm gonna bump her down to 30 instead of 35. Take off again. I'm worried I'm gonna get my head in y'all's way, but I kind of need to be over here where I can see a little better, so pardon me if I get in your way there, in your view there. Let's try to brush that off just to see what that looks like. Yeah, see that white line on this side, kinda? It's that slag that's stuck on the edges, and it's what I don't know, I don't want to say I don't like about 7018, but yeah, it's what I don't like about 7018. But the reason I'm hesitating to say I don't like it is because really and truly I want to learn to like it, so therefore I need to get better so it doesn't do that, if that's possible. So I just got to work on my technique to try to keep that from happening. But as far as how much it's filling up, I should be able to cap this, I think. You can't see it on camera, but there's still some stuff on this edge here that I don't like. In this situation, if I was on a job, I would actually grind these edges, and then I would put a hot filler over this to kind of burn out any trash, and then I would cap it just to make sure it was clean, make sure them edges are all tied in and I'm burning out any of that trash that's in the edges. But since I'm not on a job, I'm going to take this opportunity to experiment, and I'm going to try to cap over this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this side, finish the other side, and then we'll start capping it and we'll see what it looks like. All right, now we're putting a cap on it. I'm trying to keep my rod in my puddle and don't move the rod outside the bevels, but let the puddle go outside the bevels. I asked a lot of questions whenever I was pipelining to those that had a lot more experience than me. And one guy I worked with, his name is Lane, from Louisiana, and it was a downhill job. We were on a station, building a compressor station or something. That was right when I first started pipelining. I don't know what it was. I was just welding pipe. But I remember Lane telling me to just keep my rod pushed in and side to side. I think that was Lane. Like I said, I asked a lot of questions whenever I was pipelining. I'd watch other welders weld, guys that had been welding way longer than me. I'd ask them questions, they would share their tips and whatnot. Somebody told me, I don't know if it was Lane or somebody else, but somebody told me just to keep my rod shoved in there and go side to side, hit the bevels, hit the side of the bevel. And like in this case, that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping it soaked in here, and I'm just making the slightest movement side to side, and I'm soaking it on the side, soaking it on the side, and I'm letting that puddle flow out over my bevels here. The hope is even though there's a little bit of slag in these edges, my hope is that by just keeping this rod shoved in there and pushing it side to side, in theory, this rod should be penetrating through that slag and cleaning it. So that's what I'm explaining here, and trying to make sure the cap is high enough, because this is pretty low to cap, but this would probably shoot, but it is just barely above flush. But that's actually just the way I like it. It's difficult to do. There's a lot of similarities with uphill and downhill. Capping a weld low is one of the same similarities. You can do kind of the same thing going downhill, and that's actually something that I'm not real good at. That's what I was practicing when I was pipelining. Like, I was in the midst of practicing it, welding on heavy wall pipe, and just learning how to manipulate that puddle downhill. Because downhill you're fighting gravity, versus uphill the gravity's kind of helping you, I guess. Just so much to learn. You wouldn't think, going round and round, but same thing over and over. But there's so much to learn. So much you can dissect, if you will. All right. Barely above flush. Heck yeah, man. Doesn't that mean it's running good whenever it peels up like that? I don't know, what are the youngsters calling that? The old peel, L77018 peel. Yeah, see, that's more like it as far as the height of it. But see, I could stand to get way more uniformed on my edges. On my start here, it's like real wide and then kind of wavy through here. All right, got her capped and brushed off. See, it's perfect as far as the height, because we didn't overfill it. Only thing I don't like is like these. I think you can see it on camera. Yeah, you can see it a little bit right in here. Just the slightest bit of undercut because it was so low, but it's a little bit worse over here. We'll take a look at this side. See that kind of like that line over here? That's called undercut, which just like any code on any job where they're shooting a certain code, 1104, B31.3, they all have a range. So like you're allowed a certain amount of undercut. So I don't know what the amount is on 8-inch, but I could stand to burn 3 boxes of 7018 on some pipe, really and truly. Thanks for joining me today. Also, thank whoever it was. I did not take note of it, but somebody posted in the comments of a video that we posted a couple weeks ago whenever I was welding uphill with some 7018 for, I think, just the filler. It wasn't the hot pass like in this video. We were putting a filler in over an 80-10 downhill hot pass, and they suggested doing little U's. And since I filmed this video, I have started to practice that because I've been doing a lot more practicing with my uphill 7018 on pipe, and that has been super helpful. So thank you, whoever you were, for sharing that little tip. That's one of the reasons I love doing what I do and sharing here on YouTube, because whenever I share, it comes back to me tenfold, and I greatly appreciate it. Just because I pipeline welded for 8 years does not mean that I have it all figured out, by no means. That's one of the reasons why I'm practicing, because I want to keep my skill set up. It makes me feel good to do something that I haven't done 100 times or 2,000 times, or how many ever times I've made a downhill weld. I haven't made near as many uphill welds, so that's one of the reasons I'm practicing. This is just to keep my skill set up, and so therefore I'm all the time open to tips and tricks myself, not to mention how that one tip that you shared is going to help everyone else who comes back every week to watch these videos, because the goal is to just keep getting better and better and better. So by you sharing that tip, me practicing that tip, and then sharing that tip back out into the community through the videos, ideally everybody's gonna get better. And that's just absolutely awesome. I love the community here on YouTube, so thank you. Don't forget to check out our website, arosswelding.com, for any other helpful resources. Check out our trade school website, arosswelding.school. Got a couple of online courses over there, the pipe fence course, the quick rig course. We're working on a couple more. We plan to add more to the trade school website over the months, years to come. Thank you for your support. Hope you have an awesome weekend. And remember, learn something every day.